Have you ever genuinely helped someone, only to receive indifference or, even worse, outright disrespect in return? You hold the door open and the person walks through without even a nod. You go out of your way to assist a colleague, only to be met with a sarcastic remark instead of gratitude. Moments like these make you wonder, did I do something wrong? Should I even bother being kind? Before you start doubting your kindness, let's take a deeper look. The issue isn't your kindness itself, it's how, when, and to whom you express it. Stoic philosophy teaches that kindness is not a weakness. It is one of the greatest expressions of inner strength. However, kindness without wisdom and boundaries is an open invitation to be taken advantage of. This video is not about convincing you to stop being kind. It's about transforming your generosity into a powerful force that reflects your self-worth and values. We'll explore timeless Stoic lessons on how to practice kindness in a way that earns respect rather than diminishes its value. Why does your kindness backfire? Imagine a man named John, a helpful neighbor who is always ready to lend a hand. When his friend forgets his keys, John skips dinner to bring the spare set. When his neighbor's gate breaks, John puts aside his own plans to fix it. At first, his kindness is met with genuine appreciation. But over time, people start taking his generosity for granted. One day, John refuses to help because he's too busy. Instead of understanding, he faces criticism. John begins to wonder, does anyone even value my kindness? We've all been in a similar situation. Kindness without boundaries is easily misunderstood, or worse, devalued. Stoic philosophy explains that the problem isn't kindness itself, it's how we practice it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your kindness stems from a desire to please or a fear of rejection, your soul is colored by dependency. But if it's rooted in values and awareness, kindness becomes a true source of strength. A real-life example, meet Sophia, an outstanding employee at a large corporation. She often stays late, takes on extra responsibilities, and never complains. At first, her colleagues admire her dedication, and her boss praises her hard work. But over time, her selflessness becomes an expectation rather than a choice. One day, Sophia refuses to stay late due to health issues. Instead of support, she is met with disappointment. Her manager seems annoyed, and her colleagues see it as an inconvenience. That's when Sophia realizes kindness without limits doesn't inspire respect. It creates endless expectations. Stoic wisdom teaches that kindness should not be an unconditional sacrifice. It requires balance and wisdom. Setting boundaries doesn't reduce the value of kindness. It protects it from being exploited. Kindness that is not rooted in self-respect and awareness risks becoming a source of resentment for the giver and entitlement for the receiver. The lesson is simple yet profound. Give with an open heart, but don't forget to set boundaries. Your kindness is a valuable quality, not an unlimited obligation. By practicing mindful kindness, you not only preserve your dignity, but also increase the value of your actions. Kindness should never be a tool to seek approval. It should be a reflection of your inner strength, one that no one can shake. The thin line between kindness and people-pleasing. Now, imagine a man named Mark, a devoted father who always puts his family first. Whenever someone in the house needs help, Mark is there. He works long hours to provide for his family, spends evenings repairing things at home, and dedicates weekends to driving his kids to activities. At first, his family appreciates his efforts, but over time, his constant availability becomes an expectation. One day, Mark refuses a request because he is simply exhausted. Instead of understanding, he hears complaints. "You always help? Why not now?" That's when Mark realizes his limitless devotion didn't earn him respect, it only created excessive expectations. This story is all too familiar. Kindness without limits is often seen as something people are entitled to, rather than something to be grateful for. Stoic philosophy teaches that kindness is not an endless sacrifice. It is a deliberate act that requires wisdom and balance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your kindness is driven by a fear of disappointing others, your soul absorbs the shade of dependency. But if your kindness is based on values and self-awareness, it becomes a true source of strength. Let's take another example. Lisa is a nurse who is always ready to help her patients and colleagues. At first, her efforts are met with admiration, but over time, they become an expectation rather than a choice. One day, Lisa decides to take a step back to focus on her health. Instead of support, she faces criticism for being less available. That's when she realizes kindness without boundaries doesn't earn respect. It creates endless demands. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that kindness must be reinforced with awareness and purpose. Setting boundaries doesn't diminish your kindness. It elevates its value. It's not a sign of selfishness. It's a way to show respect for yourself and those around you. By setting limits, you protect your kindness from being exploited and preserve it as a genuine act of goodwill. So next time you're about to agree to a request, ask yourself, does this align with my values? Am I doing this sincerely or out of fear of rejection? These questions help you assess your motivations and practice kindness wisely. Remember, boundaries are not walls. They are the foundation for healthy relationships built on respect and balance. By practicing conscious kindness, you strengthen your life and turn kindness into a force that cannot be ignored. Third, how to be firm without losing yourself. Imagine a man named Jack. He is a father known among his friends and colleagues for his generosity and enthusiasm. If someone needs help moving, Jack is the first to show up with a truck. If a coworker is overwhelmed, Jack willingly takes on extra work. At first, his kindness is met with admiration, but over time, his willingness to help becomes the norm. Then one day, Jack says no. He's exhausted and needs to rest. Instead of understanding, he is met with disappointment, even criticism. That's when Jack realizes his kindness, though sincere, was misunderstood and taken for granted. This situation is all too familiar. Kindness, when not combined with the ability to stand up for yourself, can be perceived as weakness. Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes reason and mindfulness, teaches us that true kindness is not just about giving. It's about giving intentionally in alignment with personal values and balance. Kindness should not be driven by fear of rejection or a need to please everyone. It should reflect inner strength and self-respect. A real-life example. Meet Emily, a mother who always puts her family's needs before her own. She sacrifices her personal time, hobbies, and self-care to ensure that everyone around her is happy. At first, her family appreciates her efforts, but over time, her sacrifices become an unspoken expectation. One day, Emily decides to set aside one evening a week for herself to read, practice yoga, or simply rest. At first, her family resists. They are used to her constant availability, but Emily knows that if she doesn't set boundaries, she will burn out and her efforts will lose their meaning. Through this decision, she realizes that self-love is just as important as love for others. Stoic philosophy reminds us, boundaries are not barriers. They are tools for protecting inner balance and building healthy relationships. Setting limits doesn't make you less kind. It makes your kindness more meaningful and respected. When you establish boundaries, you not only protect yourself, but you also teach others to value your efforts, and it all starts with small steps. Politely declining an invitation that doesn't interest you, limiting the amount of help you can offer. These simple actions reinforce the idea that kindness isn't about sacrificing yourself. It's about acting with purpose and wisdom. Now, imagine another situation. You have a friend who often borrows money but never pays it back. At first, you help, believing they genuinely need support. But as the requests become more frequent, you start feeling used. Without boundaries, this cycle will continue indefinitely. Setting a clear yet respectful limit will not only protect your finances, but also force your friend to reassess their behavior. While this may feel uncomfortable at first, it fosters healthier and more balanced relationships. Kindness should never come at the cost of losing yourself. It should come from confidence, clarity, and alignment with your values. This does not make you less valuable in the eyes of others. On the contrary, it shows that you understand your limits and live with dignity. A well thought out and firm no often earns more respect than a forced yes. By setting boundaries and learning to say no with tact, you not only protect your mental and emotional well-being, but you also inspire others to do the same. You demonstrate that kindness is not submission. It is strength, built on self-respect and sincerity. When practiced with awareness, kindness enriches your life and spreads its true value to those around you. However, for kindness to thrive, it must be protected. Think about the last time you agreed to something you didn't want to do. And next time, will you have the courage to set a boundary without sacrificing your kindness? Often, it's in these seemingly small moments that we rediscover the balance between kindness and self-respect, a balance essential for a meaningful, dignified life. Fourth, how to find the balance between kindness and self-respect. I remember an incident from a few years ago when I helped a close friend repair her car. She was struggling financially and couldn't afford to take it to a mechanic. I spent an entire Saturday diagnosing the problem, finding the right parts, and fixing the car. At first, she was incredibly grateful, even bringing me coffee and a small gift as a token of appreciation. But a few weeks later, when the car broke down again, she called me, not to ask for help, but almost expecting it. It wasn't that I didn't want to help, but the tone of her request made it clear my efforts were now being taken for granted. That was the moment I realized kindness without boundaries doesn't just drain you, it loses its value. Stoic philosophy teaches that kindness must be combined with wisdom and clear limits. Without them, kindness can be misunderstood, undervalued, or even exploited. I started to see that setting boundaries doesn't make you less kind. On the contrary, it preserves your kindness as a genuine and voluntary act, rather than a burden or obligation. Boundaries aren't walls that isolate us from others. They are bridges that help build healthy relationships, Take my colleague Josh. He was always willing to take on extra tasks because he couldn't say no. At first, everyone praised him as a hard-working team player. But over time, the workload became overwhelming, and he started to feel burned out and resentful. Eventually, he decided to set boundaries, refusing unnecessary requests and focusing on his own responsibilities. Surprisingly, this didn't hurt his relationships with his colleagues. Instead, they respected him more. I also saw a mother who sacrificed all of her personal time to care for her family. She gave up her hobbies and rest, dedicating herself entirely to her children and husband. At first, her efforts were appreciated, but over time, they became expected. When she finally decided to set aside one evening a week for herself to attend a yoga class or simply unwind, her family initially resisted. They were used to her constant availability, but over time, they saw how it replenished her energy and taught them the value of balance. Stoic philosophy reminds us that kindness is not just about giving, it's also about knowing when to stop. An act of kindness holds greater meaning when it's given sincerely and with intention, rather than out of a need for approval. So ask yourself, do I genuinely want to do this? Does this align with my values? These questions help you determine when to say yes and when to say no. Kindness is not self-sacrifice. It is a voluntary gift. Remember, kindness retains its true value only when you also respect yourself. Stoic wisdom teaches us that kindness, practiced with awareness and wisdom, not only helps us build meaningful relationships, but also allows us to live a fulfilled and authentic life. So next time someone asks for your help, pause and ask yourself, is this truly how I want to express my kindness? Your answer to that question will guide you toward a decision that protects you while preserving the true essence of kindness. By the way, if you're looking to deepen your understanding of how to balance kindness with self-respect, there are some incredible resources that can help. Whether it's books on Stoic philosophy, practical guides on setting boundaries, or tools to cultivate emotional resilience, I've included a few recommendations in the description below. These are resources that align with the ideas we've been discussing, helping you turn kindness into strength without losing yourself in the process. Turning kindness into a source of inner strength. Kindness is a beautiful gift we offer to the world, but sometimes this very gift can leave us drained or even hurt. There are moments when our kindness is misunderstood, ignored, or worse, taken for granted. Yet, such experiences should not discourage us from being kind. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true kindness comes from inner strength, a fire that cannot be extinguished no matter how fierce the winds of ingratitude or indifference may be. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Stop debating what a good man should be, just be one." These words remind us that the value of kindness is not in how others perceive it, but in how firmly we uphold our moral principles. Imagine a colleague you've always supported at work. You've helped them succeed, provided guidance, and contributed significantly to a project. But when the time comes for recognition, they take all the credit, without even mentioning your efforts. The sense of betrayal is painful, but Stoicism reminds us that the worth of your kindness is not measured by how it is received. It is defined by your unwavering commitment to doing the right thing. Kindness, when rooted in personal conviction, does not need acknowledgement to exist. It exists because you choose to act with integrity. This principle applies even in the closest of relationships. Imagine a mother who tirelessly cooks every meal for her family, always being the last to sit at the table, always the one to clean up. At first, her efforts are met with gratitude, but over time, they become an unspoken expectation. If her kindness depends on receiving recognition, she may begin to feel unappreciated and exhausted. But if she acts out of love and conviction, believing that this is how she cares for her family, her inner strength remains unshaken, regardless of how others respond. A Stoic reflection. Why are you kind? Where does your kindness come from? Why do you choose to be kind? These are not easy questions, but they are crucial. If kindness is driven by a need for approval, it becomes fragile, easily shattered when it is not reciprocated. But when kindness is rooted in inner will and core values, it becomes unbreakable, regardless of how others react. True kindness is a delicate balance between compassion and self-respect. It is the art of combining generosity with firm boundaries, empathy with wisdom. In healthy relationships, kindness should not be a one-way street where one person gives endlessly while the other only receives. Instead, kindness should be a genuine exchange that supports both sides, fostering mutual growth and understanding. When kindness is balanced, it transcends its usual meaning. It becomes a powerful force that deepens connections and strengthens relationships. As Stoicism emphasizes, kindness is not only about relieving the suffering of others, it is about fortifying ourselves. Every act of generosity, when practiced with awareness, becomes an expression of dignity and inner strength. Seneca once said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." When kindness becomes a source of inner strength. When kindness is practiced with wisdom, it brings not only joy, but also deep and meaningful connections. But this is only possible when you maintain your own sense of value and self-respect, while still giving to others. You cannot truly be kind to others if you are not first kind to yourself. This requires awareness. Is my kindness truly helpful? Does it allow both sides to grow? If your answer aligns with your principles, then your kindness is genuine and purposeful. Kindness is not weakness. It's a choice rooted in strength. In a world that often glorifies toughness, kindness becomes a quiet yet powerful statement of dignity, one that does not need shouting or demands. When you choose to be kind, not out of fear of losing respect, but as a reflection of your values, you earn the respect of the people who truly appreciate generosity. Ask yourself, does my kindness make me stronger? Does it help me live in alignment with my values? If your answer is yes, then you have transformed kindness into a well of inner strength, one that cannot be broken by disrespect or ingratitude. Kindness is not about seeking recognition. It's about affirming who you are at its core. Kindness is not something you give in search of approval. It is a choice you make to affirm who you are. And in Stoic philosophy, that is how we live with freedom and integrity. What we learned today, we explored 5 powerful lessons on kindness, how to turn kindness into a source of inner strength, how to set boundaries without losing compassion, how to ensure your kindness earns respect instead of being taken for granted. These lessons help us better understand ourselves and provide a guide for practicing kindness wisely, allowing us to live with confidence, honor, and self-respect. Final thoughts. Let kindness be your light. Remember, Kindness is never a weakness. It is the highest expression of an enlightened, mature soul, one guided by wisdom and love. When you learn to give thoughtfully, kindness not only illuminates the world around you, but also becomes the light that protects and strengthens you throughout your journey. Never hesitate to share your kindness. The world needs more of that light. Engage with this message. Did this video resonate with you? If it gave you a new perspective on kindness, hit the like button. It's a simple action, but it helps me create even more meaningful content for you. Join the conversation in the comments. Share your experiences with kindness. Has it brought you joy or tested your patience? I'd love to hear your stories. Spread the message. Send this video to someone who might need to hear it today. It could be more uplifting than their morning coffee. Subscribe for more inspiration. If you enjoyed today's discussion, click subscribe so you don't miss future videos. I promise, more Stoic wisdom and inspiration is coming your way. Let's spread the light of kindness together. It all starts with small but meaningful actions. Thank you for spending this time with me. See you in the next video. And until then, keep moving forward with kindness and the strength it brings.